Newsflash. Hydrate Port, the Cloud Water Dipper. It wasn't bad. I just think there's better stuff out there. And you might as well drink the better stuff, you know, if you can justify pouring a can away, then pour it away if it's not good enough. So on the subject, here's a bet beer. You probably won't see that in the UK too much, or say too much, but it's been a bit of a nightmare to get over here actually. The first one that I got sent over disappeared, which was nice. And then this one kind of had a little bit of it. I'll get that out of the way. Bloody hell. It's in my face. It's part of my face. So I got a shipment through. I won't reveal too much of what I've got because I like to do a little beer review on it. But let's just say that I've got all of the bigger brothers. So, Treehouse Brewing Company. I don't really know if you say Jjjuliusss or if you just say Jjjuliusss 3 or Triple J or I don't know. Most people call it Triple J. So Treehouse are from Vermont. Well, that doesn't say Vermont. Okay. They are in Vermont, which is the US. They only sell beer to people that turn up on their doorstep. So it's very difficult to get their beer in the US unless you're in state. And it's even more difficult to get their beer outside of the US. So it's a real treat to have their beer in the UK, drinking it. So I have a very nice friend that sent me this stuff over. So thank you very much for that. You know, in the US, it's law that you can't send beer. So actually, the stuff that we take for granted in the UK of being able to ship a beer, a couple of cans of beer to your mate, like you can't do that in the US, which is pretty crazy. But I can sort of understand their reasoning behind it. So yeah, let's get the money shot, which is there's your money shot. Lovely. Treehouse Brewing. Treehouse are known for their New England style IPAs. They make some very nice beers. They are amongst some of the best beers in the world, actually. In fact, I might even have, supposedly, the best beer in the world in the fridge at the moment. But we'll talk about that at another time. So, sorry for peeking a little bit there. So let's dive in. Anyway, so it's Jjjuliusss. So Treehouse have a line called Jjjuliusss, and you've got Jjjuliusss, you've got Jjjuliusss. There's 3 J's, 3 S's. You've got King Jjjuliusss, and then you've got King You get my point. Anyway, so they've got four of Jjjuliusss, and Jjjuliusss is quite a highly rated beer on Untapped. It's rated if you use Untapped. I used to use Untapped, and I still do a little bit, but I don't use it to the point that I used to because it's a bit of a, it gamifies drinking beers, and that's for me that's a dangerous passage to go down. So I don't do it as much as I used to. And I used to get to the point where actually, like, I was drinking beers, and I was kind of trying to race people to drink the beers. So I don't really use Untapped anymore. But if you do use Untapped, Jjjuliusss itself, the younger brother of this, is rated 4.5 on Untapped. I think this is rated 4.6. So by that definition, you probably think it's a very good beer. 6.8%. It's an IPA. It's not a double IPA. It's a 6.8%. It's not really a double IPA. And I think the idea behind this, correct me if I'm wrong, but when it's got 3 J's, it means it's probably hammered with hops even more than the original version. Going on the colour of the can, you'd expect orange juice. That can tells me orange juice. That's pretty much it. And being that Jjjuliusss is one of my favourite beers, I can tell you that yes, orange juice. I think it's Citra. I can't quite remember. When I drink it, I'll be able to tell you. It says it all really. It's one of my favourite beers, and I can't remember what it tastes like. But every time I have it, I enjoy it. So this is the bigger brother. I've had it before, but yeah, let's dive in. So, I'll give it a little second to kind of give the aromas about. And actually from the off, it's not particularly too heavy. A lot of the beers that I've had recently have been quite intense. When you open the can up, you're getting a lot of like smack around the face, smack. And actually, no, not too much. Orange juice, passion fruit. I love passion fruit. Passion fruit is one of my favourite fruits. So orange passion fruit, it's a lovely one. So let's go. Treehouse Triple J. Let's call it Triple J. Treehouse Triple J. Yeah, it's a nice beer. It's very well balanced. It doesn't really, you're drinking it and you're not really, you don't feel like you're drinking beer, like you're really not, you don't, it's a very pleasant experience, and I think Treehouse can pride themselves on that, is that actually they're brewing beers that are always tasting very well balanced. They're never too much, they're never too little. It's always very well. So it's quite bitter. It's surprisingly quite bitter actually. And you compare it to the beers that we're drinking in the UK at the moment, I think you find actually, if you look at people like other half tend to brew their beers. So other half are a brewery from the US. If you're not particularly drinking your craft beer to the ridiculous level that some people are, and other half tend to brew beers that are very sweet, very thick, very juicy, not particularly bitter at all. And actually, I think Treehouse kind of do that, but they keep the bitterness and keep the balance, which is quite pleasant nowadays. You don't really get beers that aren't so like sweet, thick, very sweet, very thick. That's nice on the calories. These thick beers, when they're thick for a reason. It's a heavy beer, and when it's a heavy beer, it means it's heavy on the calories. There's a reason why I've put 10 kilos on in the past couple of years. Probably not good for you. Anyway, so I think this is about a month old. If I have a look on the bottom, it's for Friday, baby. No, actually, surprisingly, it's 30th of January, so it's about a month. Yeah, it's about a month and a bit old. It's been in shipment. It wasn't cold shipment, so it's not, it's not in its prime. But it's a nice beer. Now let's talk about Untapped. No, that's it. And I know that's probably the biggest question that people are going to ask. Is it worth 4.6 on Untapped? No, it's not. Is it worth 4.6 on Untapped if you get it from the brewery and drink it there? Probably. But how many beers are like that? You don't drink beer. In the UK, we don't sell beer directly from the brewery. Nobody buys beer directly from the brewery. It's very uncommon. In fact, Cloudwater are probably, You know, Cloudwater, you look at Cloudwater, you look at Daya, but most people are buying beers from bottle shops, from shops. And one thing that, you know, Treehouse do very well is they control their distribution. They don't let anybody just, you know, they don't ship to people. And I think that probably explains why their beer is so highly rated, is because you're drinking that beer so pure, so fresh. It's been stored at the perfect temperature, so that when you get that beer and you drink that beer, you go, yeah, that's absolutely spot on. But when you've had it shipped over, when you've had somebody leave it in their fridge for, you know, my guy looked after the beer, he kept it in his fridge, but you ship it over, it's been shipping for, I'd say it took 7 days to get here, 7 days to get here. It's cold at the moment, so it's not a bad temperature. But yeah, so that kind of raises the question, and it's like you say, actually, yeah, it's a nice beer. It's a nice beer. But don't pay anybody 20, 30 quid for that can of beer, and I tell you what, do not do it. You're going to regret it so much. You're going to drink it and you're going to go, you're either going to lie to yourself and tell yourself that, yeah, that beer is absolutely amazing. It isn't, or you're going to sit there and go, I've just wasted 20, 30 quid on that beer. Do yourself a favour, get yourself something fresh from a brewery here. The only way you're going to try a beer like this and get it at the standards that you expect is to go to Vermont, get in that line at Treehouse and buy the beer and drink it as it comes out of the fridge. There's no other way. So it's disappointing. And to be honest, I'll put my hand up, and I've never actually I've never rated a beer because of the ratings on Untapped. I think it's a silly thing that people do, and you know, scarcity shouldn't the scarcity of a beer should not define the quality of the beer. And I think a lot of people are like that, where if 100 bottles of a beer comes out and it's an all right beer, it becomes a very good beer because there's not many around. The scarcity of this, the fact that it's came from the US, the fact that it's quite difficult to get a hold of, you can't just walk into a shop and buy it, means that actually this beer is sorry, I'm tapping on the can there. This beer is higher rated than I think it probably should be. So what do we give it out of 5? So 4 out of 5. It's a good beer. It's a very good beer. Great balance, lovely bitterness, sweet, not too sweet, hoppy. But in the perfect conditions, maybe it would be more. But at the end of the day, maybe every beer would be, you know, a high rating if it was in the perfect condition. Like I said, I think that's the big problem at the moment is, you know, you judge a beer based on how it gets to you. But if you were to judge a beer based on how it tasted coming out of, you know, out of the fermenter, straight into pressurized into a keg, and then straight out of that keg, all stored in perfect conditions, you know, it ain't like that. And with Treehouse, it is like that. Disappointed, but not unexpected. 4 out of 5, but nice beer. Don't go looking for it though, I promise you, it's not worth it. Take care.